Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast with me, Karen Maloney. I am your host, and the intention of this podcast is to help us open our minds, get curious about ourselves, and to raise our vibration and consciousness levels. Through these conversations, we hope that you will go on an inward journey to discover the truth of who you are and to become aware of your own energy and vibration. We have the power to consciously create our lives, but we need to wake up to this fact before we can begin the process and learn the key of self-responsibility. Check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, Castbox, or whatever platform you listen on, and please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Leave a review, leave a rating, as this will help it to reach more people. Check out my website as well, Soul Power Light, www.soulpowerlight.com. Hello everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining for another episode. Before we get into today's conversation, I just want to share with you and remind you of a new mentorship group that is starting next week on the 11th of November. 11/11, how fitting, because it's a mentorship group for anyone who has gone through an awakening or is going through an awakening. It is happening more and more for people as we're going through these transitions, and often during awakening it can be very profound and you can be kind of left obliterated and wondering what is true anymore in the meaning of life. But often as well, it can be very subtle and you can just feel like you've changed or you've outgrown certain situations or your job or relationships or conversations or foods, but you're not really sure why. And often you can feel very confused or isolated or lonely, even depressed. And so this is the intention of this group. It's to create a space to come together where I can share some tools to help you navigate this time, but also a space for you to ask questions, because I know I would have loved a space like this to ask questions with like-minded people and just understand a little bit more of what's going on. So check it out on my website, soulpowerlight.com. Click in the shop section and you will see there the Awakening Mentorship Group. I look forward to seeing you there. Then back to today's episode, and I have a wonderful lady joining me, Simone Milasas. And Simone is the founder of Joy of Business, which mentors entrepreneurs across the world to create greater wealth and happiness. She is a renowned speaker, entrepreneur, and author of Joy of Business, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, and Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? Simone inspires thousands to know anything is possible, to never make yourself less than, and to create an extraordinary business and life. She is the Business Development Manager for Access Consciousness and has been instrumental in growing it from an operation in 4 countries to a staggering 176 countries across the globe now. She travels the world facilitating numerous in-person classes and seminars, and is also one of the leaders for the Actions for Futures organization. She also has her own podcast called the Change, Choice and Action podcast. In this episode, Simone shares so many questions and information to help you to expand your mind and to think beyond what we currently know. And that's part of Access Consciousness. She explains more about what it is, but also it is that questioning of what else is possible. She talks about reasons and justifications of why we choose what we are choosing and why we don't choose what we truly wish or desire. She talks about our thoughts, feelings and emotions and how up to 99% of them are not ours. She talks about judgment, and she shares lots of tools and techniques to, again, help you to expand and to question what you currently believe and what you are currently choosing in order to allow new possibilities to evolve. So lots of great information here in our conversation today, and you can check out more on Simone's work on her website, Simone Milasas, that's soulpowerlight.com. But as always, everything will be linked as well on my website, soulpowerlight.com, and click the podcast section. Enjoy. Simone, thank you so much for joining today. And first of all, welcome. I'm delighted to have you join from Australia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Karen.
Excited to talk to you today. You're a woman of many talents, but maybe tell us a little bit about your work, first of all.
Well, I work with a company called Access Consciousness, and it's funny when I say company because it's so much bigger than a company. It's like when I first started working with Access, we were in 4 countries, and I was so intrigued because everything that Gary Douglas, who's the founder of Access, was talking about, I was like, oh my goodness, this is everything that I've been looking for, everything that I knew existed, yet I couldn't see anyone else functioning from this place around the world. I could see people choosing trauma and drama and, doing all this like crap, as you would say. And so then I met Gary and was just like, wow, this guy I need to know more about this. So I ended up actually going along to a few classes, a few seminars that he did. And, one of the books I wrote is called Joy Business. So I'm very intrigued with business. And I was saying to him, you know what, you should do this and you should do this. And maybe you set up this company and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me and he went, well, maybe you could work with us. And I was like, no. I've got so many other things to do with my life, And then anyway, short story, I ended up organizing a few things, including the company in Australia and a whole lot of things. I set it up. And then I ended up being the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness for 18 years. And we're in like 176 countries now. And I recently, about 2 years ago, gave that job over to another wonderful lady because my job was just getting so big with facilitating seminars all over the world. And I found I was waking up at 4 a.m. trying to, work on projects and then going to bed at midnight and was like, I need to change something here. So we are getting bigger.
Wow. Well, I love what you said there as well, that, literally, and that's, for me, that's the perfect workings of the universe, that you went to the lecture, you were given these suggestions, and then that job kind of landed at you, and your initial thing was like, no, I don't have time for that. And look at the journey it's led you on since. But maybe just explain a little bit about Access Consciousness. What is it exactly for people who may have not heard of it before?
Sure. Well, Access Consciousness is pretty much, short explanation, is a set of tools and processes to change any area of your life that you think is not working for you. Because so many people have this place where they think they have a money problem or relationship problem or, something with their business or their bodies, etc. And most of the time it's usually a judgment and it's a point of view that is not even theirs. And they've picked up that point of view from somebody else and then they start buying into it as theirs. And in truth, Karen, we have so much available to us. Everything is available to us. I mean, it's sort of the thing that people go, oh, well, once I have X amount of money, then I'll be happy. And it's like, no, it's like you get to wake up and choose happy. So you can do that. But the one thing I'd say about Access Consciousness is, I mean, it's changed my entire life. And the reason I didn't want to work with them straight off is I had the point of view that I never wanted to work for anyone else. And I had my own company at that time. But if you look at the energy of that, it's all conclusion. There's all answer. There's no question in there. And one of the things that Access talks about all the time, which, I mean, Socrates did as well, is being in question and living in question. Because you limit what can show up when you are not willing to ask questions and you only function from an answer. So, and Access Consciousness has a lot of body processes as well. And yeah, it's changed my life. Absolutely.
Super interesting. And yeah, absolutely. Questions and living a life of curiosity and exploring is absolutely the way to expansion and expanding and moving beyond. And like that questioning going, well, who the hell said this? Or why am I carrying this? And where did it come from? Really interesting journey when you started. But I love how you mentioned, blocks that people often use, or when I get X, Y, and Z, I'll be happy. And I suppose we can all suffer a lot from getting stuck in excuses. And for me, that's exactly what they are, excuses. Yes, there are realities, but also there are excuses. So how in your work as well do you help people to identify excuses and just kind of get out of their own way?
Yeah. Look, I would say, yeah, and you say excuses. I would say reasons and justifications for not choosing the life that you could, because that's pretty much what it is. And I mean, if I give like an example of Dane here, who's a co-creator with Access Consciousness, his childhood was one of those childhoods that you go, really? Somebody had to deal with that? Like the amount of abuse he got, like physical, sexual, everything, abuse. So if he grew up to be this like victim and be this, poor, pitiful me, society and reality would say, well, see, that's what he grew up with. So that's why he's like that. Now, Dane did not buy into that. And he is one of the most kindest, like generous people I've ever met, happiest person, I've ever met. And he keeps on creating more, and he keeps being more, not based on what occurred in his lifetime as a child, but based on what he's choosing today. It's like someone might lose their job or a relationship breaks up, and then they start going, well, I am less than. You are not less than, and there is nothing that's personal. But when you make it that it's personal or that you are less than, then you use that as the reason and justification to not choose something greater. And each day you have the possibility to choose something greater. And I would say some of the questions that you can ask is, first thing in the morning, what would it take for today to be greater than yesterday? And just simply ask that question. Also, who does it belong to? As you were mentioning before, like this was a great tool for me to start using, is who does it belong to? 99% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions aren't yours. So if you wake up in the morning and you're, have this like scarcity in your world, or this, intense need, etc., or unhappy, frustrated, angry, ask, who does this belong to? Is this mine? Because most of the time it's not yours, and you're just so incredibly psychic, and you start picking it up from other people. But then what happens is you pick it up from other people and you make it yours. You buy it as yours. And so you walk around all day going, oh, I am terrible. I am, and you start judging yourself. Whereas if we just came out of judgment of ourselves and went, okay, so who am I today, and what grand and glorious adventures can I have? And it's like, what else is possible today that I've not yet asked for? What else is possible that I've not yet received? There's so much available for us, and we keep slamming the doors shut on the universe. Like, to me, it's like the universe is opening so many doors, and we keep walking through them and then going, oh, well, you ask a question for something to show up, and it doesn't show up in the time span that you've decided it should. So then you go, it didn't work. And it's like, no. Nothing ever shows up the way you think it's going to show up. Like you moving to Mexico.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's part of life, is the adventure of living.
So 100%. And like so much of what you said there, I'm just like, yes, totally 100% agree. And I suppose it's easy for maybe me to say, or you to say, who have been through different life transitions, or who have decided to start living and decided to not take on the crap and the opinions or the expectations of others or society, whatever, and to decide, well, it is within my power to choose, and to choose happiness, and to choose life, and to choose joy. And like, I missed his name there. What was his name that you mentioned, Dr.?
Oh, Dane here.
Yeah, Dr. Dane as well. Like, and so many incredible leaders around the world have been through horrific, tortures and abuse and all sorts of stories. And it's like, well, how can they still be so full of life and compassion and love, and not carry this anger and hatred? But again, that's available to everyone, every single one of us. And something you mentioned there as well, that again, I think is often a huge kind of crux for people, is not taking things personally. Like that is a huge step in the learning, because it's like, it's that vindication and that judgment of, well, how can I not take it personally? Like they offended me, or they said this directly to my face or behind my back. So how as well can you help people to see that it's actually not personal? It's more a sign of what's going on in them than anything personal.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'll give you two examples. I mean, the third book that I wrote, called Relationship, Are You Sure You Want One? I actually wrote that with
I love
my
that title.
Ex-partner. I know, it's brilliant. Well, it's good because it's a question. It's like, instead of just assuming that you should have a relationship, ask yourself a question. Relationship, are you sure you want one? And I co-wrote that with Brendan Watt, my ex. Now, we actually launched that book as we broke up, which gave our PR manager, she was like, oh my God. And we're like, don't worry about it. We've got this,
Yeah.
But the thing is, Brendan actually broke the relationship up with me. And the first thing I went to was, what's wrong with me? And that's what most people do.
Yeah.
They'll go, what's wrong with me? It's like, what did I do wrong? And they will sit in that rather than actually go, okay, so what if there was nothing wrong with me? What if I didn't do anything wrong? And what's actually going on with everything? Because to me, it took me, I definitely did that, oh no, Brennan broke up with me. This is sad. This is terrible. This is awful. And we're actually currently writing our second book. And we're going to talk about that breaking up is easy-ish because the tools that we used to actually do that were created, we're great friends, etc. So I kept looking at this and going, okay, it's not about me. It's about the whole relationship. And when I looked at it and I went, okay, if I look at the last 6 or 8 months, we were done as far as what I would say is creating this relationship that kept moving forward in this expansive way. And to me, if you're going to choose relationship, make sure that if you're with someone, that you're creating at least 20 times more than what you would alone. And we started sort of maintaining it. And I see a lot of people that will continue a relationship in the maintenance stage rather than go, okay, do we need to change something here? And change something could be, creating something different with the relationship or looking at the other person and saying, okay, have we done what we were meant to do together? Like, have we ticked that box and is it time to do something else with our lives? And that's what Brendan was looking at, is I know. Yeah. And so if whatever you're going through, whether it's a relationship breakup, maybe you just got fired from a job, it's like, or, someone is saying mean things about you. And it's like, what I want you to do is stop and have a look at the situation, but not focus on you. Like, for example, years ago, when I became worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness, there was these 3 ladies who I had assumed were my friends, and I heard them saying some stuff about me, and I was shattered. Like I was like, wow, I can't believe that these women are saying this stuff about me. And I rang Gary Douglas, the founder, and I said, hey, I don't know if I can do this job anymore. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, I can't handle the judgments. And he said, okay, talk to me about it. So I told him what was going on, and he said, okay, here's what I want you to do. And you can apply this to any situation, anyone out there. He said, I want you to have a look at their lives and have a look at what they've created. So I did. And then he said, now I want you to have a look at your life and have a look at what you've created. And I did. And he said, so have you created more than them? And I said, yes. And I created way quicker. Like I am like a dynamo. I add so many things to my life. And so what I looked at, and he said, so I want you to have a look. Are they judging you, or are they judging what they have not yet created and might never choose to? And it's not about judging them, that they're not choosing anything greater, that it's about making it not about you. I was about to quit my job and about to create myself as less than to appease their judgments. And I am so grateful for those 3 ladies, because that changed my entire life. From then on, like I've been, judged by media, and it's like, but it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm choosing. I know where I'm heading. And that's what a true leader is you know where you're heading, and you know where you're going, and you know what you're choosing. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is saying or doing. It's like you keep choosing what you know works for you.
Yeah, so true, and really, really powerful, and a great reminder again. That comes back to connecting to our own inner core, and like you say, knowing ourselves as well, and trusting and keeping that vision, because at the end of the day, people are always going to throw crap. People are always going to say things, and to be honest, they're free to say whatever they want. In my opinion, is what I've come to now. I'm like, people can say whatever the hell they want, but it's up to me whether I allow it into my consciousness and allow it to affect me and drag me down. And it's like that thing as well, all those people, like Gary Douglas said, like most of the people who ever criticize anyway or throw shade are people who are doing less. And it's because you're showing where they're not. And that's why, because I don't know what that quote is, but, people doing more than you, they're so interested and focused in doing their own good and living their own life that they've no time for criticizing or throwing shade on others. So it's always people who are maybe doing less than. But again, it's nothing personal. It's just something within them. Whereas sometimes I look at it, it's like, and it happens to me sometimes as well. I'm like, oh, why them? But it comes back to, okay, well, they're actually shining a light for me of what's possible for me. If it's triggering something within me, it's because it's a possibility for me. And again, it's that whole perspective shift. That,
and I would, yeah, it is. And I've got a tool for it as well. It's called interesting point of view. Okay. So if you do this for at least 6 months, and you'll forget, but write it down somewhere, put it in your phone that goes off every day, or put a little post-it note in a few different areas in your house or something. And even just write IPOV, which stands for interesting point of view. And anytime anything comes up where you get that like that ridge or that funk in your world, interesting point of view, they have this point of view. Interesting point of view, they have this point of view. And even for yourself, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. So say if you wake up and you're all stressed out about money, and say, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Because if you focus in on something like that, it never creates anything greater. Judgment never, ever creates anything greater. It only compresses everything. But if you ask questions and you be in allowance of what other people are choosing and also in allowance of what you are choosing, then it will expand everything for you. So interesting point of view, I have this point of view for every single thing that shows up. And if you do that for 6 months, you will create so much space and freedom in your world.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And everything really is an interesting point of view. You know, you get to a certain point and you're like, everything is really interesting, or I can explore so much. So I love that as well. And thank you for sharing. Something you mentioned as well, you know, in leadership, and the word leadership, and being in a role of being a leader, and like that, sticking to your own vision and your own inner knowing and your own truth and integrity and all that. And that's something super important for all of us, I think, because we're all leaders, whether it's, you know, of a family or of our own life, if we choose to be. But for me as well, that often links into intuition. And how in your work as well do you help people to connect more and to build that kind of inner trust and to, you know, that inner belief in themselves, in their vision, in what they're doing?
So one of the things that we would refer to is, like, we're all infinite beings, okay? Like you come to this planet, your body, you have fun with your body, and then your body dies. But you as an infinite being don't die. So you keep, you know, each lifetime. So, and you as an infinite being, you have the capacity to perceive, know, be, and receive everything. So what I would look at is, what do you know? Like, so many people are willing to acknowledge what they know. You know, like when you get a phone call and you go, oh, I knew you were going to call.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew. But you'll claim that. You'll claim the little stuff. What if you actually claimed the bigger stuff as well? What if you were far more psychic than what you've ever been willing to acknowledge? Now, here's the thing that I would refer to is, you've got thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And I'm going to say sex and no sex, and I'll explain that to you in a second, are the lower harmonics of perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. So a lot of the times that you'll go to, you know, like the thoughts, you'll go to the thoughts, like you start thinking about things, and people think that they'll, you know, if you think about it, you'll work it out. It doesn't work like that. And it's like, what do you know? So ask, what do I know about this? Okay. And I know there's a lot of head trippers out there who go, no, when I think about it, I work it all out. You actually never create anything greater than past what you actually know. And it's like the same as the feelings. It's like people start to lock in their feelings rather than functioning from that capacity to perceive, know, be, and receive. It's like, if you perceive, what do you perceive here? And the sex and no sex is about receiving. And I'm not talking copulation. It's about, if you look around the world and it's like, how many people go, oh, I will receive from the energy of, like, okay, so who would you have sex with? Okay, so you've got, you look at it and go, okay, so for myself, it's like men, and it's like, but of a certain age, you know, pretty big age group, but of that age group, you know, and it's like, but then what you do is you cut off your receiving from everyone else. So the lower harmonics is this energy of where you go, oh, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, not even cognitively. Yeah. But what if you were able to receive from everyone? Like, someone might go, oh, I don't like homeless people. I mean, you know, or I actually heard someone the other day say they're not talking to anyone anymore because they've got too much money. And I went, what? Wow. I was like, why would you not talk to someone because they have too much money? So, but that's a judgment, and it creates a separation, and then you no longer receive from them. So what if you had the ability and the capacity to perceive, know, be, and receive everything? And then with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions and sex, no sex, you started asking, who does this belong to? And is this actually mine? What I would actually add to that at the end is the Access Consciousness clearing statement, which is a little strange, but I'll go there. So it's like, it's everything that is. So everything that allows you to buy into the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, sex or no sex, destroy and uncreate it, because it's a point of view. So you destroy and uncreate the point of view. And then the clearing statement is right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And it's about changing the energy. Because it's about all those different areas that you've gone, well, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is perfect, this is correct. And that point of creation and point of destruction is that moment where you create something. So say if you're getting married, and say that moment, point of creation, you create the marriage. That point of destruction, I'm not sure about you, Karen, but there's a hell of a lot of relationships out there I see that they start to cut themselves off when they're in a relationship, rather than, and that's a whole other topic, rather than expand out, But there's that moment that you go, okay, there's the point of creation, the point of destruction of where you decided something that locks in your life, rather than being in question each moment and choosing something greater. And the clearing statement, you can find out more about it we've got a website called theclearingstatement.com, which is a whole lot of explanation if you're interested. But it changes the molecules, like it changes the energy of it, like pressing a delete button on a computer and just going delete, 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 so that you have more space in your world.
Super powerful. And yeah, I mean, I just love these conversations because literally these are the tools that we have at our fingertips, but we've never necessarily, well, certainly not in mainstream, unless you go exploring yourself, you never come across them most of the time. But like, I love how you mentioned how, just shifting that energy, that clearing statement, because it is about shifting the energy. For me, that's how new creative solutions, and whether you call it intuition or higher consciousness or higher self or source or God or whatever, that's when those little nuggets, that inner knowing, can pop up and just be like, oh, new ideas can pop in, like you say. And I was a person who lived from my head, so I can 100% say thinking does not work. Like I drove myself, I literally feel like I just blew up my brain because I lived there so much that I can definitely say it does not work. And it's about shifting that energy. And I think now more than ever, with the shifts that are happening in the world and the transition that we're going through, what kind of tools as well, or even what do you do on a daily basis to help you shift more into your body? The language obviously is super important, but are there other daily practices that you use as well that can help shift you from that space? Because again, we're all human. We go up into our mind at times. To come back into your body, to feel more grounded, that then, possibly you can begin to question or explore other avenues.
Okay, so I'm going to say two things which are slightly different to what you're referring to, because one of the things that we talk about, and you're definitely getting me into the more weird and wonderful stuff of Access, which I love, is
that's me to a T.
What if there was two species on the planet? One is human and one is humanoid. And the humans are the ones who judge everything and have that, there's death and taxes and can't get any better than this, and always sort of that heaviness to not being able to create something greater. And the humanoids are the ones who spend the life judging themselves, and that they're always wrong, but they're always got this creative capacity of looking at life and the world and going, there's got to be something else. There has to be something else. There has to be something else. But then you've got this sort of like human mentality of like, no, you should be happy with what you've got. Like my mother, who is definitely human, is always like, she's been so mean to me my whole life. My father was amazing, but she was really mean. And even now, and it's like, but she's like, don't you have enough? Like, but she looks at what I'm creating in my life as the materialistic stuff. Like, hey, I've got a really nice car. And I'm like, wow, it's so not about the car. It's about what I'm creating and generating in the world. But she can't see that and does not desire to see that. All she sees is, don't you have enough? You should be happy with what you've got. And you worked too much. And I'm like, she goes, why don't you relax? And I'm like, okay, hang on a second. Relaxation to you is sitting in front of the TV for hours on end. Yeah, no interest. I'd rather create something. I'd rather write another book. I'd rather do another podcast or something, and be that invitation out there in the world. So that's sort of the difference between human, humanoid. And it's not to go into judgment. It's just for the awareness. For me, that when that tool came out, it gave me so much relief because I spent my whole life trying to work out how can I make my mother happy before realizing she's actually happy being unhappy. Like she's happy taking a zillion pills a day and doing all of that. So what if I'm in allowance of what she's choosing, but I don't let it change my life? So that's one piece. And then the next piece is when you're saying about getting more grounded, what I would actually ask is what I'd like you to do wherever you are, touch your body anywhere on your body, like your face, chest, whatever you want. It's like touch your body. And it's like, so you can perceive the energy of your body. And it's like you be present with your body. But if you can, if you're driving, don't do it. It's like close your eyes. And what I want you to do is perceive the outside edges of you. Okay. So like Karen's in Mexico at the moment. I'm in Australia. And it's like, come visit us there. It's like go across the whole entire globe. And if you're going, how do I do that? It's not a how, you just do it. You as an infinite being have the awareness of so much more than the room or the car or wherever you are that you are currently sitting in. And that is what is projected at us is like, you know what's going on where you are. No, you know what's going on everywhere. And you know that, like say if you've got a kid, you'll get the energy when your kid needs you or your husband or your wife or your friend or something like that. You pick it up. And again, that refers to our knowing. It's like we know. So keep expanding out across the whole entire globe, whole entire world. Like perceive all the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, the mountains, you know, go to Europe. It's like be everywhere across the whole entire world. And then even reach up for the stars and the planets and the entirety of the universe. Take a breath. And it's like you are everywhere. So your body is here, but most people try and put themselves inside their body. Your body is as big as what your body is. You are far bigger and greater than your body. So what if you were that space, and from that space, you have that capacity to perceive more, know more, be more, and receive more. Receive is the big one that so many of us don't do. We go, no, I've got this. I can do this on my own. You've got a whole universe out there that is willing to gift to you. All you have to do is go out into nature and you can see that. And we stop receiving from the universe. What if we started receiving from the universe today? Don't judge that you haven't been. Not about judgment. It's just today. What if today was greater than yesterday? And start asking for more possibilities to show up. You can receive so much more than what you've currently been choosing.
Oh, I love it. And literally, that's just me to a T. I was only telling someone earlier today on a call that I was like, I'm fully in my body, as in I'm here to live this full experience, but I actually connect so much more with my non-physical aspect, like that spirit, that essence, that soul, like that is so much bigger. And this is just the small little vessel I have to have this experience. But when you connect to that bigger part, and that's my work as well, that's what I help people do, because it's magic. Like when you go through the shifts, it's just like infinite and all those possibilities. And I love it. And I love how you mentioned as well, even about your mother and just accepting her willingness to be, happy in her little, maybe we perceive it as unhappy world. But for me as well, when we can get to a place of kind of non-resistance to everything and to what everyone is doing and just be like, okay, just going to keep doing my little thing is super powerful. And I'm sure maybe some people, that last little bit, go back and listen again. You might have been a little bit confused or be like, what? But again, explore, questions, get curious, allow yourself to go there, to expand and to see, what happens, what shows up, how you feel, even more importantly.
I'd like to add one thing though with that is, because I see so many people around the world either choose like body or choose that energy of being like that space that we just spoke about, your etheric, astral bodies, all that. But what if there was both? Like you chose this body and you can have so much fun with your body. Your body has so many senses going on, and even more than the 5 senses is what I would say. So what if it was the greatness of embodiment, like that included all of that and this amazing, wonderful body that you chose, It's like, don't eliminate anything.
Oh, 100%. And I think when you do come to that full embodiment, it is realizing like, oh my God, this is my sacred vessel that I get to have this experience. And you mentioned the word fun. So what kind of things, how do you add fun into your life as well? What really lights you up or keeps you, again, you know, in that kind of not so serious, dense, heavy energy of the human and the bills and the problems and the coronavirus or whatever else is going on?
Good question. And it's so diversified.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I used to travel 10 months of the year, and I was in Hungary and Budapest and in March and had to come home. And for the last 15, 17 years, I've been traveling like 6 to 10 months of the year. So now I'm home and I'm like, oh, but I do have a beautiful house across the road from the beach. And for myself, and this is something that you can all have a look at, is 1 hour a day and 1 day a week to start to get you into that place of actually nurturing you. Have a look at 1 hour a day, 1 day a week that you do something that is for you. Now, that could be anything. It doesn't necessarily mean going and having a bath and, you know, a massage or anything. It could be you learn how to cook, or I'm starting Italian lessons tonight, you know.
Cool.
It's like yeah. And I mean, I love moving my body. Like, I love doing Pilates, going for a run. It's like, or I've started F45. It's this very high intensity gym workout. And I'll change it all the time, because a humanoid changes everything all the time. It's like what works for you today might not work for you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going swimming with whales, which is really cool. It's one of the only places in the world that they do it. Yeah. So, cool. But it's like engaging with the planet is what I would say. Like, I wake up in the morning and do not let my, you know, my WhatsApp, my Telegram, my Skypes, my emails and all of that create my day. I allow myself to create my day from what I'm aware of. Like yesterday, for example, I, you know, went and had lunch and had a spa day with some girlfriends of mine, and I had 2 hours to work. So instead of freaking out about I can't get everything done in 2 hours, I went, okay, what projects require me right now? And there was like 3 or 4 that went ping, ping, ping. And I went, okay, I'll address that. And then just leave the rest. It's like, don't judge that, oh my God, I didn't get to everything. You're never going to get to everything. But what else would you like to create today? Like, so if you live in that constant state of choice and constant state of creation, then you'll have so much more show up. And I mean, I'll even go, oh, it's a beautiful day, I'm going to go to the beach for an hour and I'll make some phone calls on the beach or something. It's like, include everything. Like, I never shut anything off. You know, when people say, you know, you need to have time off, or, you know, people always go, I hope you get a holiday. And I'm like, why do I want a holiday? It's like,
my life is a holiday.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to switch myself off. It's like, I can be in the shower and get out of the shower and be like, oh, had a great idea. You know, it's like, I don't turn it off. It's like, I be on for everything and be present with everything.
Yeah, love that. And again, I think it's, you know, when you really step into that role of creator and embodying it all and being here for the full experience and realizing we are creators and we are here to create. And no matter what that is, like you say, whether it's a meal, whether it's a painting, whether it's actually a business, whether it's a book, whether it's a child, you know, we're all here to create. And when we are in creation mode, however that shows up for us, we are living our best lives, you know. And again, it takes a shift. You know, people going, oh, well, it's great for you because, you know, you're building your own life and blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but you made those decisions, you know, and it's available to anyone. You know, the possibilities are there. And I think now more than ever, we're all being shown that some of the older systems and paradigms may not exist anymore. So it's like, be with it, explore, take the opportunity. What can happen? What can you create? You know, how do you want to live? How do you want your life to look? So much of what you've shared, I've just absolutely loved. And again, you know, it's in that sharing as well, that kind of confirmation. And it's like, oh yeah, there is another way as well, and sticking to our core and our truth as well. So I've really loved it, but I would love for you to share where people can find more information about your work and if there's anything in particular you have coming up. And like always, I will share everything on the blog notes as well. And I don't know if there's anything coming through as a parting message as well. Feel free to share.
Well, I have a unique last name. So if you Google my last name, I'm the only Simone Milasas in the world. So it's Milasas and on accessconsciousness.com. But I have a website, SimoneMilasas.com, and my Instagram handle is at Simone Milasas. So it's nice and easy. Lots of different things. You can find it on there. And the one thing, so the parting words I would like to say is, and it actually comes from a book that my friend Dr. Dane here wrote, and be you and change the world. It's that simple. It's like, what if you stop trying to be somebody else? Like, I mean, even look at your bodies. It's like everything else that you choose. How often do you try and be like somebody else rather than you do you so well? Be you and change the world. Don't judge you. Enjoy you is what I would say.
Oh, I love it. Yes, absolutely. What a powerful message to leave with. And Simone, thank you so much for connecting today. I've really enjoyed it, and I just wish you continued success and joy in business and in everything.
Thank you so much, Karen. You too. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you get notified every time a new show is released. Get more information on this week's guest as well on my website www.soulpowerlight.com.